and I looked at it under a microscope, it had little appendages sticking out of it. So I thought, well, okay, he's made this statement about what it should be like, and here it looks something like what he said.
Pritchard then submitted the implant for further examination at the Massachusetts General Hospital.
They identified a number of dead white cells and cholesterol bodies, the typical kinds of things that you get if you have a little wound or maybe even an ingrown hair. And the fibers that were stuck in it were quite clearly cotton fibers. I had concluded that at MIT. So as far as I'm concerned, this artifact is cotton fibers stuck in human damaged material that accreted maybe over some period of time and ultimately was expelled by the body or by Price picking it out of him. What I can't explain is why Price maintains still that this is an alien artifact.
One of the most interesting investigations that I've ever been able to do was when a young man called James Basil turned up at my lab and said that he had an implant. We were able to do an analysis of the chemical constituents of this object, and we found that it was 50% mercury and the rest was silver and tin. And it's a dead giveaway, it was a filling.
Undeterred by such evidence, Daryl Sims's hunt for the proof of alien life continues.
My interest is to acquire physical evidence, and what the world wants to do with it, what scientists want to do with it, how they want to massage that or play with it or debunk it or call it whatever they want. That's fine, that's their business, but that's not what I'm about. I won't quit until I catch that sucker.
Coming up, we ask whether it's possible that the entire phenomenon could perhaps have an earthly explanation. Could alien abductions have nothing to do with aliens at all? Is there another answer to this puzzle?
The more I hear about abduction stories, particularly the ones that happen in bed at night when people are asleep, the more I can see the similarities between that and what's called sleep paralysis.
Something like 20% of the population report experiencing this at least once in their lives, and lots of people experience it on a regular basis.
When you're dreaming, you have to be paralysed. But normally that wears off long before you ever wake up, so you don't know anything about it.
The muscles of the body, we know that they are paralysed when you're dreaming, presumably to prevent you from acting out the actual movements of the dream.
But sometimes the mechanism goes wrong so that you wake up and you're still paralysed. And this paralysis is very often associated with buzzing and humming noises, feelings of floating or flying or being dragged away, creepy crawly skin sensations as though something's running up and down your skin, and overwhelming all of that, a sense of presence, the feeling that there's somebody there in the room with you, even though you can't usually see anything. I think a lot of alien abduction accounts are in fact elaborations of sleep paralysis.
The problem with that is, number one, most of the people are not asleep when this is happening. Second of all, it often doesn't occur at night at all. People can be driving along in their cars and fully conscious and awake, and this light will come down and the experience will follow from that.
In a society saturated with UFO and alien images, is it surprising that millions of so-called abductees now see the same images in their dreams, taking the place of images which previous generations might have described quite differently?
At this particular moment in time, people seem to interpret sleep-related type effects in terms of possible UFO abductions. Whereas if you look back in history, you'll find that in previous eras they'd have been interpreted in different ways, perhaps as ghosts, or if we go further back, perhaps as demons. That's not the way we interpret that. They interpret them now, and by and large people don't believe in demons anymore.
If you were to ask 100 children to draw a picture of Santa Claus, their pictures would be similar. Does that prove that Santa Claus exists? No, it simply shows how pervasive the Santa Claus image is.
Anyone who's looked at Whitley Strieber's book, just seen it in the bookstore, can draw a respectable alien. So the fact that everybody draws aliens that look somewhat like Whitley Strieber's doesn't prove a darn thing.
But there is another theory behind the abduction phenomenon, and it's gaining popularity with some researchers: electricity. Abduction researcher Albert Budden believes there's a link between electrical pollution in our environment and the abduction phenomenon.
All these abductees or experiencers are actually suffering from, they've developed a condition called electrical hypersensitivity. And this means that they are hypersensitive to the invisible electromagnetic energies in the environment.
Some authorities have investigated the possible effects of electromagnetic waves on human health, but so far the results have been inconclusive. Budden, having interviewed many abductees himself, is convinced that the effects on human beings are far-reaching.
An electromagnetic field rippling through their house and through their skull, because the skull is entirely transparent to these fields, will stimulate the visual cortex, and they will have something called a seizure. And they'll see a bright white light or a whole range of hallucinatory sensations that other people just wouldn't have if they didn't have this sensitivity.
I think it's a very interesting idea. As yet, I'd say the research is very much at the early stage of development, and it's an area that I'd like to see more research into.
Any explanation has to cover the data. You can't just chop away from the data and say, well, I don't like the ones where the object is seen by numerous witnesses all over the place, hovering over the house where the abduction took place, and where the tree branches are snapped off. I don't want to deal with those cases. I just want to take an individual who has funny tingling, and I will explain that as a neurological thing. He may be right, he may be able to explain that, but that doesn't do any good in terms of the abduction phenomenon.
There's a perplexing mystery that, if true, may indicate the presence of aliens and possibly the military at work in this phenomenon. It allegedly happened in the winter of 1989 to a group of soldiers whilst out on manoeuvres on Salisbury Plain in England. The memory of this event was recovered largely under hypnosis by Robert Lamont, who believes it's his most significant case to date. The soldier who gave the account was unwilling to be interviewed on camera for this programme, for fear, he said, of reprisals.
The only way to describe it was it was a flying triangle, and it was hovering above us, and it was totally silent. It was unbelievable. And almost immediately when we saw it, a beam of light came out of the craft, and it just stopped the other guys in their tracks, just stopped them dead. I saw them out the corner of my eye, and it just missed me. The beam of light, it just missed me. I was lucky. As I was looking, there was a noise next to me, and this soldier came out of the bushes. He started swearing at me. He sounded American. And he had this metal stick in his hand, and then he pushed me back into the light too. I was terrified.
According to our source, the next thing any of the group remember is being further down the hill looking at the map on the ground, disorientated and confused. We contacted the witness at his place of work, a military facility well known for its secrecy. We established that he did indeed work there, but in what capacity we were unable to determine. The Ministry of Defence have no record of any flying craft seen that night. The case, as far as they're concerned, is closed. In fact, although the Ministry of Defence has frequently commented in the past on UFOs, they've only once made an official comment on the issue of alien abductions.
You would let me have a statement detailing the policy and view of the Ministry of Defence in relation to the alien abduction phenomenon.
Thank you for your letter dated 31st of August 1996, addressed to Miss Philpott. You have asked for the Ministry of Defence's policy and view in relation to alien abduction. Abduction is a criminal offence and as such is a matter for the civil police. The matter of abduction by alien life forms is a non-issue as far as the Ministry of Defence is concerned. I hope this explains our position. Yours sincerely, Gaynor South.
The idea is that the powerful conspirators, the governments of the world, the military, actually cover up all the really good evidence, and therefore this explains why there isn't any. Now, this basically makes a lot of the claims completely non-falsifiable.
Leah Haley claims to have been abducted many times over the past 20 years, both by military personnel and, she says, alien beings. Coming up, she undertakes a polygraph exam on camera to test the veracity of her claims.